Sir, please may I come in?
Come in.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, ma'am.
Good afternoon. Have your seat, Riju.
Thank you.
Are you vaccinated?
Yes, sir.
Both the doses you have taken?
Yes, sir.
Board is also vaccinated, so you can remove your mask. Introduce yourself.
Sir, I am Riju Shrivastava. I was born in the city of Vidisha, Madhya Pradesh, and I was brought up in Bhopal. I did my schooling from St. Joseph's Convent, Bhopal, and then I went on to pursue my graduation from Sri Ram College of Commerce. Post my graduation, I've also worked as legislative assistant to Member of Parliament, and I am interested in journaling and scrapbooking.
So you studied economics at graduation level, and you worked with politicians, so I think you are attracted to political science or political issue also. So, but why did you opt sociology as an optional? No economics, no political science, sociology then?
Sir, while I was pursuing my graduation, we had the opportunity to study subjects like public economics, development economics. So my sociological bent of mind developed from there, and I also worked with NSS. So while working, I felt that knowing social institutions and society from the ground level is what was enchanting me. So I took sociology to explore the field.
Do you think mode of production is the basic structure or social relationship is the basic structure in the entire organization?
Sir, I believe both are important and both share a dialectical relationship. So as per the Marxian theory, he believes that it's the economic factors, but I think both go hand in hand and we cannot just attribute towards to one particular domain, economic or social.
You have mentioned that you also participated in Indo-Pak exchange program on empowerment through education. So was it empowerment of women or empowerment of somebody else?
Empowerment in general of all the humans.
Citizens.
Citizens.
Okay. So tell us something about this empowerment program.
So it was a Indo-UK exchange program, and that was an incoming program. So the students of UK University visited Sri Ram College of Commerce, and for 3 days we have cultural exchange, debates and discussions on how education would be a tool for empowerment in various domains. So it was a cultural exchange, and I was part of the debates and discussions and overall holistic development through it.
As compared to our achievement in 1951 on education front, now we are highly educated society compared to that, because we were having 28% literacy rate. But the behavioral pattern of society is not improved proportionately. That means education is not reflecting in behavioral pattern. There are so many unruly behavioral incidents visible in urban setting. Why do you think education has failed to improve behavioral pattern in India?
Sir, I believe that education has not failed in changing the behavioral pattern. There are always exceptions that we can see in the unruly behavior, but overall we've seen a growing consciousness among the people towards the social relations and the society they are in, towards a more peaceful and a more democratic society in terms of acceptance of differences.
Violence against women in domestic setup is visible more in urban setup, particularly among educated families. Why this is so?
Sir, I believe that there's a difference between education and literacy. Being literate does not mean that one is educated. Education has to have imbibement of values. So those values one has studied in theory, but the practical aspect has to come from within, and also from the various agencies of the society, the schemes, the government awareness programs, building behavioral nudge and people perception.
So on that parameter, most of the people in India are uneducated.
Sir, I would not say most of the people there.
Because most of the people are engaged in violence against women, whether it is per income group or lower income group, middle income group, educated, uneducated, literate or illiterate. How to improve their sensitivity? What kind of education should be given?
Sir, right from the very beginning in the school itself, not only classes or theory, but having social discussions like group discussions, where both male students and female students sit in groups and have some activities on the practical aspects, not confined to just imparting theoretical.
Do you think this
knowledge.
obsession with higher economic growth is also creating a stress in social setup and social relations?
Sir, please will you?
Do you think obsession with higher economic growth, that means having a high growth target at micro and macro level, is also creating a stress among individuals?
Sir, it is definitely creating a stress, but one has to deal with the stress in a positive manner. It's depending on the individual how much the stress is there.
Okay, so you are not very conclusive about it.
So stress is there, and we've seen the manifestations of stress, but there are also different management practices which can be there for stress management.
Okay, Riju, thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning.
Good morning, ma'am.
You have worked in Parliament as an intern?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. What was 91st Constitutional Amendment Act, Riju?
I'm not able to recall it.
Okay, it's recently in use. It's about limiting the number of ministers.
Yes, to the 15%.
So do you think in cases of smaller states like Goa, this provision should be done away with?
Ma'am, I believe that there should be assessment, like in Delhi also 10% thing is there. So first, we cannot just do away with it. We should see, because that has a positive.
So what should we see?
Like in small states like Delhi, that 10% thing is working fine. So for small states, I think having a percentage fixed is important, because that has worked well in the larger states too.
So yeah, so if we will re-evaluate the provision, what criteria will we keep in mind?
Ma'am, the number of seats, the MLA seats in the Legislative Assembly, and also we should see that there should not be any conflict of interest, in the sense that more and more ministers, if it will become what sort of polity is there, like it's a multi-party or the bi-party system. So the political setup can also be assessed, assessment report or some we can have earlier that, and then take on to.
Okay. Recently, Vice President of India made a remark that proceedings in Rajya Sabha disgust me sometimes. So, in what context do you see what is happening so disgusting that Vice President of India had to make such a remark?
Ma'am, the code of conduct for the MPs was not followed. There was more disturbance in the Parliament and in the Rajya Sabha. The agenda of the House was not able to be completed, as it was some of the opposition parties entered the well of the House. So some disorderly behavior was observed.
So in that context, do you think the chairperson of the House should be given more disciplinary powers?
Ma'am, chairperson of the House has disciplinary powers.
Yeah, but it's not effective if he has to make such a remark in public.
First, the oral or the verbal disclaimer in such cases are given, and only then the action is taken as per the Rajya Sabha business rules.
And what about anti-defection law? Is it working fine, or do you see some lacunas in the present context?
Ma'am, one of the lacuna is very evident, that it promotes wholesale deflation, wholesale defection, and not retail defection, in the sense that if more than 2/3 of the...
Okay, I get that point. Any other problem do you see?
Ma'am, also if a person within the party disagrees on some aspect, it will be considered defection if he votes in against or does not vote according to the whip. So in a way, individual liberty on the topic is...
Okay. And what is the timeline for action if somebody is allegedly to be booked under it?
I don't think there's a timeline for it.
Yeah. So it's also been in criticism, right? So coming on to economics and how do we measure our growth? If I ask you, can you suggest some innovative indicators which we can include in our growth methodology so that gender becomes a forefront area or inclusive development becomes? Do you have anything in mind?
The first is inclusion of care services, like the homemakers. Like Venezuela has tried this. But first we need to see how effective it could be by some task force on it. So this could be one thing, inclusion of the care services.
Okay, measuring the domestic effort which is put in. Okay.
Like the Venezuela example we can see, and also the climate budgeting. So
What is climate budgeting?
I'm seeing that how the GDP growth, what part of it could be attributed to the distortions that have taken place in the environment, and what could have been the opportunity cost in terms of environmental cost. So that aspect could be.
Okay, what do you think, how much percentage do we spend in climate change and environmental related efforts now? Should we increase our expenditure?
And we have to increase our expenditure, but at the same time we also need to see that there are more issues like education, health. So balancing that out is important.
So without increasing our expenditure, can you suggest some of the measures so that sustainability or climate change front can be solved?
Ma'am, there are various schemes that are already in place, like the National Action Plan on Climate Change. So seeing that they are implemented on ground well, and the funds are already there, but many a times we have seen that the funds are not utilized. So
can you tell me some of these funds? What kind of cesses and funds we have made under the environmental protection?
There's Swachhata cess, and I'm not able to recall the cess exactly.
Are you aware of DMF fund?
This
District Mineral
yes,
Fund.
ma'am, I've heard of.
So how is it being implemented? You have any idea?
Ma'am, I'm not. It was related to the hydrocarbon, the HE help policy, but I'm not able to recall right now.
Okay, no problem. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Riju,
Yes.
can you tell me when we compare the sociological approaches of Durkheim and Mead, which one do you prefer more?
Ma'am, both had different approaches to sociology. Durkheim had more of a sociological bent and more in the
more of sociological bent?
Ma'am, I meant he was more like the external factors, or the he was more of a functionalist in his approach, whereas Mead was a symbolic interactionist, and he also attributed some of the factors to the inner self, or
so in short, I'm asking whether you would keep society over individual or individual over society.
Ma'am, both share a dialectical relationship, but if I have to keep, I would keep individual over society.
Okay.
In the sense that individual must have its own liberty and freedom, but those are guided by sociological forces from outside. So society is there, man is a social animal, but individual is important.
Okay. Can you tell me the difference between fundamentalism and communalism?
Ma'am, fundamentalism is going back to the basic books of religion, whereas communalism may not be exactly going back to the basic scriptures, and communalism has more of a political and other attributes which can be violent also sometimes.
Your father has worked in soil conservation. Okay. Can you tell me that this badland topography that we see in MP, how do you classify it? Is it soil pollution or soil degradation?
Ma'am, it is mixed of both, but it's more of a gully erosion. So the Chambal area, we've seen more of gully erosion, so it's natural degradation in that.
Okay, and there is no factor which is related to humans?
No, it's anthropological and natural both.
Okay.
But the natural factors are also dominant is what I'm...
Okay, what are the natural factors because of which this particular region experiences this gully and rill erosion?
Ma'am, first is the soil, which is the red soil is dominant, and the other is the Chambal river itself, which was not very perennial in nature, so it's seasonal. So these are the two.
So how does red soil is a a factor for such kind of erosion? What are the properties of rich soil which make it vulnerable to such erosion?
Ma'am, the phosphorus and the potash content is less, so it is more dry in that aspect, and due to the river present there, so water erosion and also wind erosion.
Water erosion. Okay, yeah.
The ma'am,
You're not able to put it in so many words. Okay, anyway, thank you, Riju.
Thank you, ma'am.
Riju, you were part of NSS.
Yes, ma'am.
What did you do in NSS?
Ma'am, I was part of the Sanskar project. The Sanskar project basically deals with educating the children, the poor children, in the nearby areas of Sri Ram College of Commerce, and educating them in basic mathematics and English, like the primary school students.
Which ministry does NSS come under?
Ma'am, Ministry of Youth and Sports.
Okay. Did you do anything during COVID times? It was pandemic and we were in utmost need of service. What did NSS do during COVID?
Ma'am, NSS particularly had a lot of online campaigns going on during COVID, and also in the restricted zones, NSS provided essential services in terms of ground reach of the people. So I was not particularly part of NSS during the COVID time, but NSS did a lot of.
All right. You come from Madhya Pradesh. Can you name a few tribal leaders from Madhya Pradesh?
Mr. Ganjam Singh Korku is one. Then, ma'am, I'm not able to recall right.
Do we have less representation of tribes, or is it that you just don't know about it?
No, ma'am, I have heard there is 21% population of tribes.
Representation, I said.
Ma'am, there are 3 to 4 MLAs and MPs in from Madhya Pradesh.
Is that enough?
Ma'am, I do not believe so. There must be more representation of the tribe.
Okay. Do you know we are making a new building for the parliament? What is it called?
Central Vista.
Do you feel there's actually a need for it, since you've worked as a researcher for member of parliament? Do you think we actually need to spend so much money in making a new building?
Ma'am, I believe that the new building is required, because with time and also seeing that maybe in 2026, by the delimitation, the number of MPs might also increase. So that is also a factor that so many MPs are will not be able to be accommodated in the current parliamentary setup. Also with time, the disaster management thing and seeing that our building is suitable is important. So accommodation is the basic factor that.
Riju, you've studied in SRCC. I'm sure you've lived in North Campus if you've studied in SRCC. Please name a few villages of Delhi around North Campus.
Ma'am, I'm not able to recall it.
It's okay. Riju, do you know what is Ricardian theory of rent?
Ma'am, I've read about it, but I'm not able to recall right now.
You know what is ISLM model?
Yes, ma'am.
Tell me what it is.
Ma'am, it is ISLM is the investment saving and the liquidity management model. So it is basically where these both curves intersect. We are able to find the optimum rate of interest and the GDP.
Okay. Riju, you represent the youth of our nation. Please tell me, what are the aspirations of today's youth? If you had to maybe put it in 3 points, what are those aspirations?
The first aspiration would be a more inclusive and a better society with equality of opportunity for all. The second aspiration, I think, would be seeing India as a global leader and not having enough opportunities within India itself, so that they don't have to go to different countries. And the third aspiration could be on the career front of all the youth to have opportunities in all the career fields, may it be sports or academics or research, or to grow at their optimum potential.
Okay, Riju, my last question to you would be, how are challenges for a girl in a tribal area different from maybe a girl like you who has the opportunity to come to Delhi, study in one of the best colleges? So how are your challenges different from challenges of a girl in a tribal area in Madhya Pradesh?
Ma'am, the first thing that comes to my mind is the health. I had the opportunity to have a good health infrastructure in Bhopal where I was. Many tribal girls do not have access to public hospitals, and the largest number of anemic girls are also seen in Madhya Pradesh. Second, in terms of education, I was fortunate enough to be studying in a good school, but many girls in the tribal areas have to travel far, and Eklavya model residential schools, which are basically for tribal students, are also not in all the tribal districts of Madhya Pradesh. So that is the second thing. And third thing would be in terms of opportunity that I get, in terms of empowerment, the individual empowerment that I was privileged to have, but the lack of opportunities to explore different fields. Because in Eklavya model residential schools also, and in general tribal schools also, all the subjects are not offered. So that would be.
Thank you. All the best.
Thank you, ma'am.
Riju, you come from Madhya Pradesh.
Yes, sir.
What is the nickname of your chief minister?
Sir, I am not aware of the nickname. Mr. Shivraj Singh Chauhan is the chief minister.
He is known by a particular nickname, and like newspapers also use it all the time.
Sir, I am not able to.
Are you not aware, or like you don't want to say it?
Sir, I am not able to.
Okay, fine. What is the difference between geopolitics and geoeconomics?
Sir, geopolitics is more related to authority and power on the global front, in the power relations among different nations. And geoeconomics is more to do with trade relations and also the how different scarce resources are allocated amongst the global.
Okay, and like which has become more important in recent times? Is it geopolitics or geoeconomics?
Sir, I believe geoeconomics is taking a greater.
Our neighboring country of Sri Lanka is undergoing a severe economic crisis. If you can just tell me, like, what are the 2-3 reasons which are responsible for that?
So the first one which comes to my mind is they had more of the expenditure than the receipt. So, and that was from the very starting, but they did not look as severely as it was required to be.
Okay, one. And
so second was the radical shift to organic farming.
Okay.
Taking in point the fall in the productivity. And third, sir, it would be not take like the debt, the checkbook diplomacy that China played. So in that aspect.
Okay, fine. You have worked with parliamentarians as well. Now tell me, like, sometimes back, the Prime Minister of Singapore, he made some comments about the criminal antecedents of Indian parliamentarians. Now, how do you see it? Like, was it right on the part of this Prime Minister of Singapore to make such comments?
Sir, I'm not aware of the exact comment that the Prime Minister made, but nearly 43% of the sitting MPs had criminal allegations against them. So the Supreme Court as well as the Model Code of Conduct also says about that the criminal antecedents have to be made public. So that has already the work
so
on that.
How does it reflect on our democracy? Like, if the Prime Minister of a foreign country is citing the criminal antecedents of Indian parliamentarians as an example, like how we should react to that internally?
Sir, our democracy has many strengths, so we need to take it with a pinch of salt and then maybe try to see the lacuna and then correct it instead of.
Okay. In recent times, we have also seen that there have been a lot of parliamentary disruption. Debates in parliament is not taking place as it should. So, and it is said that the opposition must have its say, but ultimately the government should have its way. But if there is a choice between the two, okay, like it's a binary, then what is more important in your view? Opposition having its say or the government having its way?
Sir, I think opposition and all the other parties should have adequate opportunity to put forward their word. So in a democracy, the say of all and the hearing of all is important.
Okay. And why Rani Kamlapati was in news?
Sir, in Bhopal, there is a Habibganj railway station. So the name of the railway station was changed to Rani Kamlapati, and Rani Kamlapati was a gond queen of that area. So that
Who was her husband?
Sir, he was a Bundela king. I'm not able to recall the name.
Okay, fine. My final question to you, like we have heard about crony capitalism, but what is crony socialism?
Sir, I have a vague idea. I'm not very sure. Should I?
Yes, you can attempt it if you want.
So maybe the dominance of some social groups in the social setting, or maybe it can be the dominance of caste within caste.
Okay, you can look it up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Riju, we've seen a major industrial accident in Bhopal, 1984. As a student of economics, I think you could have pondered over this issue that whenever we set up an industrial township, a larger habitation emerges around it. And then these industrial accidents prove to be very harmful to society. What do you think we should do? Should we restrict access of civil society in such industrial towns so as to minimize the impact of industrial accident? Because if you are running industrial undertakings, accidents would happen sometime or later.
Sir, I believe before setting up industrial townships or industrial centers like this, the hazard mapping should be done, that how vulnerable would be people residing near those areas, and what sort of intensities of the products that are being manufactured in terms of the impact that they can have. And then according to that social impact assessment and environment impact assessment, those industries should be set up.
Okay, who founded this city, Bhopal?
So it was a Parmar king, Raja Bhoj.
Okay. And there is a big statue in Bhopal city of the same king. How tall the statue is?
So it's approximate, I'm not sure of the height.
Have you visited the place?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So you don't know the height. You have put foreign service as fifth preference. Why?
Sir, foreign services is it gives an equal opportunity to serve the nation, but I wanted to be in India and work within India for the people here, so that was the reason.
Okay. Okay, nice talking to you, Riju. Your interview is over. You may go now.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Have a seat. Your interview is on 9th of May. So you are left with some 12 days. How do you feel? How did you perform today?
I was not able to recall a lot of things. Knowledge wise, there was a deficit, which I was not able to. I have read those things, but I was not able to recall them. Right.
Okay. Are you practicing mocks?
Yes, sir.
How many mocks you have gone through?
So 3 to 4.
Okay. And are you planning to go through more?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So today, amongst all the mocks, today was the one which I felt went the worst.
Why today you couldn't perform as better as earlier?
Sir, I don't know.
You don't know. See, our observation is that we could detect that you are a good candidate in spite of what you are suggesting. And the parameters, your entry is good, your sitting posture is good. Are you planning to wear the same sari?
No, sir.
Okay, you are just practicing with this.
It's a cream color sari.
Okay, good. So, your communication flow was good, though on occasions it could be better. And your eye contact was good, but sometimes it was evasive. That means you are not able to continuously look into the eyes of the person you are talking to. You're advised to do that. Okay,
so we should have one-to-one is...
One-to-one eye contact. And don't look left, right. Be continuously watching the other. As far as your awareness is concerned, because you have shown yourself to be working as parliament related representatives, etc. So you expected to answer more questions or better answer on constitutional provisions also, and the parliamentary practices, conventions particularly would be expected of you. Current affair awareness was fine, but it could be even better as for Sri Lanka, etc. So because you have got with 10-12 days, so keep reading it. You can make your answers more precise and to the point. That could be done by taking some time, maybe 3, 4, 5 seconds, structure your answer and deliver it in point format. On certain occasions, it appeared that you could not gather the intention of the question quickly enough. So be more keen while listening to the question, be more alert mode, and these are the points which we wanted to suggest you so as to improve your performance. But overall, we were happy and enthusiastic about your performance. You are young, very young. You are born in 98, so 23 years basically.
So tomorrow 24.
Okay, so happy birthday in advance for tomorrow. So tomorrow will be, so on interview day will be 24. Still you are among younger lot of your students. So that's very positive. Your academic background is very good. Studied from good institutions. And as we could assess that in most of the cases, you are able to explain the things. So that part is good. Of course, you missed certain points of sociological principles, etc. and comparative analysis. Still, overall, we are happy and hope that you are going to perform good, much better than what you did today. And take these things in your consideration. Watch your video twice, thrice. Okay, all the best.
Thank you, sir.